Jaylen Carter refused to let Philadelphia Eagles' self-inflicted wounds end their season. The Birds are headed to the NFC Championship. Locked On Eagles postgame show coming up next.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the post-game show. It's Locked On Eagles. Thanks so much for making us your first listen and watch each and every day. We are brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code in all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. It wasn't easy, and that's an understatement. That was maybe the most stressful yet fun playoff game that wasn't a Super Bowl I've ever watched as an Eagles fan. But regardless, the Eagles are headed to their third NFC Championship game in 7 years, their second NFC title in the last 3 years, a 28-22 win over the Los Angeles Rams. And this game, again, it was beautiful and torturous, all wrapped up in one. The snow looked incredible. The Eagles had so many storybook moments in this game, and yet it was one of the most frustrating, stressful games I've ever watched because the Eagles tried to shoot themselves in the foot and end their own season time after time after time in this game. They just could not put the Rams down. Every single play you feel like, there it is. That's the moment. This game's over. The Rams found a way back in it until the final drive. And it's all because of the reason, even with that being said, the Eagles are headed to the NFC title, a home game in Philly next week against Washington, is because of, there's a lot of reasons, but the main reason, number 98, Jalen Carter. He refused to let the Eagles end their own season. This was one of the most historic, dominating performances from a player I've ever seen in the playoffs. And you can say that twice about two Eagles in this football game because Saquon Barkley had a historic performance himself. 26 carries, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But I think the story of the game was Jalen Carter. I was a week early challenging Jalen, saying, I want to see, you've been dominant all year. Your efficiency numbers, elite. Like, you are the alpha of the Eagles defense. But I want to see one of those performances where you take over from start to finish, where you say, I am one of the best players. Not only I'm the best player on this defense, I'm the best player on this field. I am the best player at my position in the NFL, and I am a generational potential Hall of Fame talent. Like, that's what I wanted to see from Jalen Carter in the playoffs. Show me you're the next Fletcher Cox. Show me you're the next Aaron Donald. He absolutely did that today. 2 sacks, a forced fumble. I mean, genuinely, you can even combine quarterbacks in this conversation. Jalen Carter today had one of the most impressive playoff performances that I've ever seen. And again, those 2 huge plays that he made won you this game in the second half, where Jalen Hurts is injured. That knee looks super messed up. He takes a brutal sack in his own end zone for a Rams safety. The game is now, it's 16-15. It feels all but over. The Eagles season's about to end. Jalen Carter, like he's Falcon from Nintendo, punches the football out of Kyren Williams' hands, forces the fumble. Isaiah Rodgers picks it up, almost takes it to the house. Again, that completely changed the momentum of the game. It felt like the Eagles were done. They were dead. They looked dead in the water. Jalen Carter said no. That completely turned the game around. Then, after Saquon Barkley's second 60-plus yard touchdown of the game, you feel like it's over again, but no. Vic Fangio's soft coverage lets the Rams march down the field. They score. The Eagles have a quick 3-and-out, a terrible play call from Kellen Moore in second down where he dials up a passing play. Jalen takes another bad sack because he can't move. Here come the Rams. 2 missed extra points from Jake Elliott. Give LA an opportunity to go win the game with a little over 2 minutes to go. They march all the way down yet again to the Eagles inside the 20. Jalen Carter, a massive sack on third down, makes it 4th and long. Turnover the very next play. I mean, this was just unbelievable from Jalen Carter. And you shouldn't be surprised because he is one of the best players in the NFL. But this, like in year 2, to have this kind of legendary clutch performance in such a massive spot to give your team a home NFC Championship was unbelievable. But it wasn't just him. This is why you draft players from the best college defense of all time. Nolan Smith with a huge strip sack of his own in the second half. Moro Ijoma, a huge sack. His first career sack in the second half comes in a massive moment. That defensive line took over when it mattered most. But it really was like Jaylen Carter and Saquon Barkley. Those are the two heroes of this football game. It was, I don't even know what to say. You guys can hear my voice. I'm completely shot. Outside of Super Bowl 52 and Super Bowl 57, I don't know if there's a game that rivals this kind of stress watching this football team. And yet it was so beautiful. The game looked incredible. The snow's coming down. There's so many good things you can take from this. Jaylen Carter and Nolan Smith refusing to let you die. A young defense that suffers injuries to Nakobe Dean last week. Quinyon Mitchell leaves the game with a shoulder injury in the first quarter. You're down to backups, and your quarterback gets hurt. Everything's going wrong. You are shooting yourself in the foot. Your kicker is missing. Your coaches are not on their A game, and yet you still overcome and win that game. Like Jalen Hurts shows off his toughness. He's basically on one leg. He makes a huge play on 4th and 4 in a big spot in the second half, converting the first down to A.J. Brown. Like this, you can feel so great about this team from this win, and yet you could feel very nervous at the same time because the only reason the Rams were in this, and props to Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, Jared Verse wrecked this football game. The Rams defensive line, they won this matchup against the Eagles offensive line. I thought the Rams in the trenches, everybody called them small and soft all week long, and Jared Verse was getting a lot of flack for going after Eagles fans, as he should have. But those guys rose to the occasion. Like the Rams were good. I want to give them credit. But even with that being said, the Eagles should have won by a lot more than 6 points. How many times in the first half Jalen Hurts takes 2 bad sacks on 3rd down, taking them out of field goal range? Like there's points left on the board. 2 dropped interceptions by Darius Slay and Isaiah Rodgers. That one gets pulled away by Demarcus Robinson for a huge completion that puts the Rams in Eagles territory. Vic Fangio soft coverage in the second half lets the Rams get back within 1 score after what felt like the Saquon Barkley game-sealing touchdown. Kellen Moore just going pass heavy in a blizzard with an injured quarterback and a running back who's having a generational performance. Drops from A.J. Brown, which would have set up a play on the 1-yard line over the middle. Just an uncharacteristic game from number 11. There were so many things that the Eagles did today to try to end their own season, and that can make you feel a little bit weary about next week against Washington, but you normally don't see them be that self-destructive. And that's why I think actually this game, you should take it as a plus, as a positive, that even with all of that happening and your quarterback's hurt and you're in a blizzard, you still found a way to win this game and get an NFC title game at the Link next week. I think this game can help you win a championship in the end. There is so many lessons you can take from this. This is a game that unites your team and sparks something special. I really do think you could tell when you're watching something historic, right? When you're watching something special, something that you're going to say in 10, 15 years, we're going to be looking back at this game and saying, wow, I can't believe we watched that live. This game looked special. And I've never had more. It's such a confusing game. I've never had more fun watching football like today, and yet I've never been more stressed if you remove the 2 Super Bowls that I've watched with the Eagles as a coherent fan and analyst. It was just, I'm so glad it's over, but holy cow, what a finish. And the Eagles will host the Commanders next week for, like I said, their 3rd NFC title in the last 8 seasons, their 2nd home NFC title in 3 years. A win is a win in the playoffs, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, a win is a win in the playoffs, and the Eagles got a win today. Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, this era of Eagles football, all they do is find a way to win football games. But the story of today, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Saquon Barkley, those 3 especially, they were the ones that found a way to win this football game. 28-22, the final score. The Eagles headed to the NFC Championship after a win over the Rams. We'll continue to recap this game right here on the Locked On Eagles postgame show coming up next. This episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by LinkedIn. Growing your small business in 2025, it comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I've used LinkedIn Jobs myself. I can tell you it's a game changer when it comes to hiring the right fit. Small businesses are wearing a lot of hats, so every hire is crucial. LinkedIn gets that. That's why they connect you with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else. From unique skills and interests to the connections you share, LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. So hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do apply. Guys, today's show is also sponsored by PrizePicks. It's playoff time. If you're like me, you want to make the most of these final weeks of football action. That's where PrizePicks comes in. If you love football and want a chance to win real money while watching the games, PrizePicks is the place for you. It's the best way to turn your sports opinions into cash with daily fantasy player projections. I've been playing for a while now. Here's how it works. All you do, simply pick more or less on player stats, like total passing yards or rushing touchdowns. And for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your money, you can make your picks in less than 60 seconds. Here's a special offer for Locked On NFL listeners. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's PrizePicks. Run your game. Thanks so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. I would like to apologize to our live viewers for my voice. I'm sure you're all feeling this way too, though, after that game. My voice is absolutely shot. I have never been so stressed watching a playoff game that wasn't the Super Bowl in my 27 years watching this football team. Again, I was not old enough to really remember a lot of those conference championship runs. The only non-Super Bowl game that rivals this kind of stress, I would say, is 2017, Eagles-Falcons, the divisional round. I think that's the game that's closest. Eagles-Saints in 2018, but there wasn't the kind of pressure of that game that you felt today, right? Because in 2018, the Eagles were playing with house money. I mean, they were a 6 seed, and you were just happy they were there. You couldn't believe they even beat the Bears in the wild card round with the double doink. So the fact that they had a chance to beat the Saints, the 1 seed at the end of the game, was just unbelievable. You were playing with house money. This game, why I was so stressed is because of how special this football team is. And because they had so many opportunities to take control of this game. I mean, even in the first half, it's a 3-point game, and you were so frustrated because you knew the Eagles showed you in the first half they were clearly a more talented football team. They should have been winning by a lot more than 3. But that's why it was so frustrating, because Jalen Hurts takes 2 bad sacks on third down. The offensive line is not protecting. The play calling looked terrible. The defense just missed opportunities when it comes to turning the football over. And then there's injuries to Quinyon Mitchell and Jalen Hurts, and you're like, if they don't win this game, it's going to feel like one of the most disappointing ends to a season in franchise history, because there is no way this team has any business not getting to the Final Four. And so that's why there was just so much on the line in this game, so much pressure, because I have never seen, only a few times have I seen an Eagles team so complete, so talented. And if it would have went out like this, if they would have ended their season like this, where they lose a game and it's really, again, to give the Rams credit, they did a lot of good things today, but you would have lost this game really because of your own doing. Shot in the foot after shot in the foot. That would have been really, really tough to swallow. It would have been a long 6 to 7 months. And I got a couple of live comments here. What happened to Quinyon Mitchell? Shoulder injury. So he was out for this game after the first drive, missed the rest of the game. But I will say, I thought Isaiah Rodgers stepped up really well in this. Again, he should have had that pick in the first half. Demarcus Robinson ripped it from him. But the Rams tested Rodgers a lot today, and I thought he showed some impressive closing speed. I thought he made a couple big plays on the ball, picked up the fumble recovery from Jaylen Carter in the second half when it was 16-15. By the way, you got to shout out Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on that play too, though. The ball went under like 4 different guys. Chauncey swiped at it to push it out into the open field, knowing he'd have one of his corners out there. Rodgers picks it up. There were so many underrated heroes of this game. Chauncey made a couple big plays. This defense, they bended, but they didn't break. How many times was it a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2? The Rams did a good job staying ahead of the sticks, and yet CGJ will fire through the B or C gap like a rocket and make a play to force a field goal, or Josh Sweat on 3rd and 3 will make a big stop. This defense, you would never know they're the youngest in football. And even the older guys, though, on defense, like Zach Bond, a couple huge plays in the second half. Darius Slay, I thought had one of, I know he gave up that touchdown to Higbee at the end of the game, but I thought he had one of the best performances of his career today. In the snow, 34 years old, going up against Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, I thought Darius Slay looked really good. Oren Burks actually had a strong performance. He had a big 3rd down pass deflection in the 4th quarter. Moro Ijoma gets his first career sack. Jaylen Carter, as I said, had one of the best games I've ever seen from an Eagle in the playoffs. Nolan Smith with a strip sack. Josh Sweat, as I mentioned, a couple huge plays. This was a complete effort on defense. And I love that. They understood the situation. Kind of like the 2017 defense. This reminds me a lot of that Eagles-Falcons game, where the defense sees their quarterback struggling and or hurt, and they say, we got to go out and win this one, boys. And the defense won them this game. But not just the defense. How have I not talked yet about Saquon Barkley? 26 carries on the day, 205 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, also had 4 catches for 27 yards, so had over 230 yards from scrimmage, 2 60-plus yard touchdown runs. What he did in the regular season, absolutely historic, right? It was the best running back season I think we'll ever see from an Eagles running back. Will there be another one that ever rushes for 2,000 yards? Maybe Saquon next year. I'm not so sure, but a different player? Probably not. What he did last week, over 100 yards against the 3rd overall rushing defense in Green Bay, super impressive. But what he did today, 205 yards rushing and 2 60-plus yarders, including what should have been the go-ahead game winner with 4 minutes to go in the 4th quarter in the snow. The only performance that rivals this is LaShawn McCoy's performance in 2013 in a blizzard. It's incredible that in 2 blizzards against Matt Stafford, ironically, the Eagles have had a historic performance from a running back. Saquon Barkley today, especially with Jalen Hurts getting injured, and there goes that zone option where the Rams now know that in the first half, I'll give it to Jalen Hurts. He was really keeping the Rams on their toes, had a 40-plus yard touchdown himself on the first drive. It was keeping the Rams honest. Then he gets that knee injury where the Rams fall on him awkwardly and his leg bent in 3 different directions. They know it's going to number 26, right? And he still pulls that off in the second half. I said Jaylen Carter, that's one of the best performances of an Eagle in the playoffs ever. You could say the same thing about Saquon Barkley today. Howie Roseman, he's made a lot of incredible moves as the Eagles general manager. This might go down as the best move he's ever made. And if it's not number 1, if they win a championship, I might make that take. I might say that. But even if they don't, this was one of the best moves, whether it was a draft pick, a trade, free agent signing, that Howie Roseman has ever done. And the fact that he did this at a position that he used to just care so little about and just did not invest anything in. And now it could be the reason he wins his 2nd ring. It's just such a cool story. And he was our division rival. And for him to do what he's doing, 2 performances against the Rams this year with over 200 rushing yards. And he's looking back at Jared Verse in the first half after his first touchdown when Verse called Eagles fans terrible this week. Just a storybook watching him run around in the snow. Just an unbelievable story. There's so many cool that's why today was so terrible and I'm so stressed, and yet it was so beautiful at the same time. Watching those guys overcome all of those obstacles in the blizzard, in the playoffs, when the tension and the pressure is highest. And so many athletes in the past have turtled in these moments. And it's understandable. Like, what the Eagles went through today, it felt like at moments just too much to overcome. I was getting ready to be like, all right, it's draft time. I'm headed to the Senior Bowl in a few weeks. Like, let's go look at some tight end prospects. Let's go look at some edge rushers. Who did the Eagles re-sign in free agency? Nope. Jalen Carter, Saquon Barkley, Nolan Smith. They refused to let this team lose. And now they are hosting Jayden Daniels and the division rival Washington Commanders in the NFC Championship next week. One more segment for you guys right here on the Locked On Eagles postgame show. I'm fighting through with this throat, but hey, it's the playoffs. We're all dealing with something, right? So I got some Jalen Hurts takes, Kellen Moore, and then we'll look forward to the NFC title next week right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. This episode of Locked On Eagles is brought to you by FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app, it's easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. I imagine you won big today if you took the over on Saquon Barkley's rushing yard total or the anytime touchdown. Like that, of course, always hits as well. The FanDuel app, like I said, so many bets you can make. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. Get started with $300 in bonus bets at FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and, of course, the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, we are wrapping up the Locked On Eagles postgame show. 28-22 is the final score. The Eagles are headed to the NFC Championship. They are hosting the NFC East rival Washington Commanders next Sunday at 3 o'clock. The Commanders shocked the world yesterday, beating the 1-seed Detroit Lions. Jayden Daniels looks like the real deal. One of the best quarterbacks in football. And if they're going to beat Jayden Daniels next week, they need Jalen Hurts to be healthy. That's something I'm going to really be monitoring. Like, how hurt was he? At first, when he came back from that knee injury, they put a brace on his left knee. I thought, like, did he tear his... Is he pulling a Phillip Rivers where he's playing through a torn ACL or MCL, or, God forbid, it's something like with his Achilles? Is it just a high ankle sprain? Like, what's going on? That safety, it looked like he just could not move, right? He just could not escape. Takes the safety. I'm like, okay, even if they win this game, I mean, is it Kenny Pickett next week? Then as the game kept going in the second half, I thought he started to move a little bit better. They started to drop some play action bootlegs where he's rolling to his right, he's rolling to his left. That was encouraging, but I'm not sure. I don't know what his status is. We'll have to monitor that throughout the week. But if they want to beat the Commanders, again, Jayden Daniels looks like one of the best players on the planet. One of the best, if not the best rookie seasons I've ever seen from a quarterback. They're going to need Jalen to be healthy. And I don't want to say like they're going to need him to play better. It was a weird Hurts performance. Like, I guess their performance from their quarterback kind of represents their performance as a whole. Like, it was a lot of missed opportunities, self-inflicted wounds from Jalen. And yet when he needed to make plays, he made plays. I thought he ran the ball exceptionally well today. 7 carries for 70 yards. He had that 44-yard touchdown in the first drive, had that score. Only finished with 128 passing yards, but did finish 15 of 20. Only had 5 incompletions. And I actually thought Hurts threw the ball well down the field. Like, there was a 45-yard completion to Devontae Smith that should have been there if Witherspoon doesn't cheap shot Devontae and hit him in the head. Of course, that was an unsportsmanlike penalty, so the Eagles did get the first down after 15 yards. But that was a play Jalen could have had that would have made his numbers look better. He had a beautiful jump ball to A.J. Brown in the right corner of the end zone, which would have set them up at the 2-yard line. A.J. Brown dropped that. He had a really nice throw in between 3 defenders on 3rd and 6 in the first half. A.J. Brown dropped that one. So I actually thought Jalen's ball placement today was pretty good. He missed a couple throws, but it was snowing. I thought he ran the ball exceptionally well. He called the audible that led to that touchdown. And then, of course, in the play that he's got to have on one leg, 4th and 4, it's a one-score game. He converts, throwing a dart to A.J. Brown right before the linebacker had a chance to bat the ball down. So Jalen overall, like, it was an up-and-down game. But what this guy always does is make the plays when it matters most. Even in games where he is not looking like 2022 MVP candidate Jalen Hurts, he still makes the plays when he has to win. And for your quarterback to be that injured in a blizzard and your offensive line is not protecting you like they normally do, the Rams pass rush was getting to him. For him to show that kind of poise and toughness in the second half, like that's, yes, Jalen Hurts, he showed today without his mobility, he's not a fast processor. He'll miss throws. He's a limited passer. Like, he's not going to be Joe Burrow and even Jaden Daniels to a degree. Like, Jaden Daniels looks like he's on another level right now. But Jalen Hurts also showed today why he's one of the best in the world in other areas, like clutch gene, like running the ball, like making plays, throwing the football when he has to, like winning games, doing what it takes, not having the big moment be too big. Like Jalen Hurts showed today yet again why he's made for playoff football. Now, again, he's got to be healthy because as he showed today, if he's got to sit back in the pocket every single play and there is no threat at all, like again, Jalen Hurts, I think he can be a great deep ball passer. He's one of the best in the game. He showed that today. His deep ball placement was really good, but he's not a consistent enough pocket passer. If he's on one leg, I'm not feeling good about it. Like it was enough to get the job done today, but if he's going to play like that for 4 quarters against Washington and Jaden Daniels, for as good as this Eagles defense is, I don't think it's going to be enough. So fingers crossed, but he's got to be somewhat healthy heading into Sunday. I hope that wasn't a super extreme injury. We'll see. Again, I thought he did start to move a little bit more after the injury as the game went on. We'll see, though. I thought Jalen, even before the injury, he had some ups and downs. Like, had a couple bad missed throws. The sacks he took. The one was on Mekhi Becton, but you got to know the situation, right? Where you're in field goal range twice. It's 3rd down. You cannot hold on to the football that long. Like, 5+ seconds. The ball's got to be out. He's got to process faster. That safety. I know you're banged up. You're toughening out for your team. You're in the back of the end zone. A stupid play call by Kellen Moore. Like, Kellen Moore had a terrible 2 back-to-back games in the playoffs where I could not stand his game plan. I don't know how this guy could get hired as a head coach. But either way, Jalen does miss Dallas Goedert open over the middle. So I thought it was an up-and-down performance from the quarterback, and I think that's kind of indicative of the Eagles' performance as a whole. But overall, they got the job done. A win is a win in its purest definition in the playoffs. 28-22, the final score. I can't believe the season's still going. It felt like a lot of times today it was over, but thanks to Jaylen Carter, Saquon Barkley, Nolan Smith, they're going to the NFC title, and it's Commanders week. We'll get you covered all throughout the week right here on Locked On Eagles, Monday through Friday. This throw will be a lot better, but I think like all of you, I was screaming at the top of my lungs. Like, this was a very memorable night to be an Eagles fan. It was beautiful and stressful all at the same time, but isn't that what being an Eagles fan is, right? Beautiful and yet stressful all the time. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in live. Appreciate you guys getting me through this with the voice, but the Eagles are going to the NFC Championship, and we'll cover it for you all week long. Thanks for making us your first listen and watch each and every day. 28-22, the final score. Bring on Jaden Daniels. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, thanks as always for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.